Italian prosecutors have opened an investigation into wealthy Italians who allegedly paid to shoot civilians during trips to Bosnia and Herzegovina in the early 1990s. Today, we'll look into this deeply disturbing practice that has been referred to as sniper tourism during the Siege of Sarajevo and the economics behind it. To understand what is alleged, we first must understand the context of Sarajevo in the early 1990s. Bosnia and Herzegovina declared independence from the former Yugoslavia in 1992. Tensions that combined ethnic, political, military, and territorial dimensions erupted into war. One of the most infamous episodes was the Siege of Sarajevo from 1992 to 1996. This has been described as the longest siege of a capital city in modern European history. During the siege, Sarajevo residents endured constant shelling, shortages of food, and mortar and gunfire. In particular, sniper fire from surrounding heights made ordinary movements on the street lethal. It is estimated that more than 11,500 people were killed in the city during the siege. One of the most haunting elements is the term Sniper Alley, describing Mesa Selimovic Boulevard, the main route into the town, which remained exposed to sniper fire where civilians were targeted. So this is the horrendous backdrop. A city under siege, civilian population targeted and in constant peril. Into this setting come the allegations we will discuss. The claim is that during the conflict, foreign individuals from Italy, France, UK, and other Western countries paid the modern-day equivalent of nearly $100,000 to be transported to sniper positions overlooking the city and to fire at civilians for sport. Before we tie things directly to Sarajevo, let's examine the broader economic framework of hunting and tourism. We need this to understand how something like paying to shoot people might emerge as a perverse economic transaction. Hunting as a marketized leisure activity, especially big game trophy safari hunts, is not just a wilderness sport. For some countries, it is an economic sector. People pay large sums of money to travel to access remote terrain, and in many jurisdictions, pay for licenses, tags, and special permits. The economic flows include travel, accommodation, local labor, guides, transport, equipment, and hunting rights. For example, in an overview of wildlife management economics, one review found that countries where hunting is an important source of income for tourism, the share of GDP could amount to about 7%. One study cites that the price of hunting can range between $41 and $545 per day. Of course, there's an even darker side. Illegal hunting or poaching is often driven by very high rewards relative to risk. For example, one paper points out that despite long-standing trade restrictions, the poaching economy continues to thrive because the demand, lack of enforcement, and high value create strong incentives. Also, poverty and lack of alternative livelihoods often become factors in local communities being drawn to the supply chain. The illegal trafficking of exotic animals and the poaching industry is estimated to be worth over $20 billion annually. But what happens when leisure hunting collides with war and conflict? If we think about it, hunting tourism, especially for wealthy individuals, means staging a hunt, picking a target, and paying for the rights or access. In war and conflict, normal rules collapse, risks are elevated, and vulnerability is extreme. From an economic lens, if someone is willing to pay a huge sum for exclusive access to something forbidden or extremely dangerous, wild game, or in this case, human targets, then the financial incentive may distort or override moral and legal constraints. The structure. A provider offers access to a target in return for payment. The clients pay for the thrill, and the provider facilitates by supplying location, weapons, guide, and an exemption from normal rules. Now let's tie it together and examine the specific allegations regarding sniper tourism in Sarajevo. What is alleged? According to reports from The Independent, The Guardian, and the BBC, Italian prosecutors are investigating claims that wealthy individuals, mainly from Italy, the US, Russia, and westernized countries, paid between $80,000 to $100,000 each to participate in what is being described as a sniper safari in Sarajevo during a 4-year-long siege. The allegations say that there was a price tag for killing civilians. Children cost more, then men, preferably in uniform, then women, then finally older citizens who were allegedly cheaper or even free to kill. One journalist quoted, They departed Trieste for a manhunt, and then they came home and continued their normal lives. The alleged war tourists, or tourist shooters, are depicted as far-right foreign gun enthusiasts who visited Sarajevo, used heavy rifles intended for wild boar, and fired at civilians. According to reporting, participants were taken to hills overlooking the city by Bosnian Serb militias. These militias, loyal to Radovan Karadzic, arranged position, transport, and weapons to the tourists in exchange for tens of thousands of euros. Thus, the economic mechanism aligned. High net worth individuals pay for the thrill and access, the host militant group supplies the opportunity, and the conflict zone allows the law and moral restraints to be bypassed until investigations began decades later. Let's be very clear. If these allegations hold true, we're talking about wealthy people paying to kill innocent civilians for fun. The Guardian article notes that evidence has been collected by Milan-based writer Ezio Gavazzini and a complaint filed by the former mayor of Sarajevo. The Siege of Sarajevo remains one of Europe's greatest tragedies of modern conflict. The allegations of sniper tourism during the siege, wealthy foreigners paying to kill civilians, turned the tragedy into something much more grotesque. Not only war and murder, but the monetization of death for thrill and ego. Thank you for watching. If you found this interesting, please subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.